Hey, welcome back to John chapter 11. The overview of this chapter is basically Lazarus and God raising him from the dead. What happens is Mary and Martha, whose brother is Lazarus, he was super sick, and Jesus and his disciples had just skipped town because they were trying to kill him. And so they sent word because they knew that he cared and sent word he's really sick, and they believed that Jesus could heal the sick. They had seen that, and so they called for him to come back, and Jesus didn't go. He stayed, knowing that him staying would bring more glory to the Father. So he stayed, waited till Lazarus died, and then he goes back to raise him from the dead, and gets there and raises him from the dead. And he also talks with Mary and Martha, Martha the thinker, and he talks with her in a very intellectual way, and he feels with Mary the feeler. And in this chapter, we see Jesus cry, we see him weep, we see him shout, we see him get angry. There's lots of emotions happening in order to relate with Mary and feel with her. We also see a bunch of people put their faith in him. We also see people who don't and go to the Pharisees, and the Pharisees make this plot to kill him. So that's the overview of chapter 11 of John. Some things that I can see about God's character, things that stood out to me about God's character, is that he is so much more capable than we think he is, right? We kind of expect this of him, and he's like, oh, no, 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 no. And he wants to stretch our faith. And he often makes us wait so that we can get a bigger view of who he is. He's so much more capable. He does what he does in order to increase our faith. All right, he stayed there so that Mary and Martha's faith would increase, as well as all the people, the crowds. And then these crowds would be the one that would be waving palm branches at him when he walked into the city. So basically, nothing's too difficult for him. Nothing. I mean, after all, what is bigger to defeat than death? I mean, there's nothing bigger than death, for us. So there's nothing impossible for him. So those are some things that stood out to me. Some principles that seem to apply to all people, all times, is it's a good thing to feel with those who feel and think with those who think. And use that to point people to the truth. Another one is don't poo-poo emotion. I can tend to do this where, I'm like, okay, cry, get it over with, okay, since I am more of a thinker than a feeler. But don't poo-poo it. Jesus wasn't like, oh my goodness, Mary, get over it. No, he wept because his friend was weeping. And he, the whole situation, he was overcome with emotion. Another principle is he does what he does to stretch our faith. All right, Mary and Martha, they believed that he could heal their brother who was sick, and that's where their faith stopped. And God wanted to expand their faith and say, no, not just if he's sick. If he's dead, I can heal him. So he wants to stretch our faith. And another principle is sometimes not being with those you're closest with actually means more fruit for God's kingdom. So those are some principles that stood out to me. Some application personally for me is to be okay with emotion, even anger. And sometimes I can get more angry when people are angry instead of just realizing, okay, they're angry, and not letting it get to me. And feel with those who feel. So for me, that means putting aside my to-do list in order to be present, my soul, my mind, will, and emotions be present with someone who's hurting. Not just okay, oh my goodness, hug. Okay, let's go. Let's get what we need to get done. So those are ways that the Lord encouraged me. What about you? What stands out in this chapter? How have you been encouraged? What do you see about God? How are you going to apply it? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments below.